Okay, hello everybody, and welcome to episode 4 of Write the Damn Book Already. I'm Elizabeth Lyons. I'm a 5-time author, and I help people write persuasive, thought-provoking nonfiction and memoir so they can share their message in a meaningful way and attract not only readers who cannot put their books down or their book down, but who also, in many cases, become some of their favorite clients of all time. Today, what I thought we would talk about really quickly, sometimes I've been in this space for so long, and I think this is true actually of anyone who's been in a particular space for a long time. We forget what's such common knowledge to us and what's a little confusing or not common knowledge to other people. And one of those topics when it comes to book writing is genre. I help people write nonfiction and memoir, and I can't tell you the number of times that people have said, wait, isn't memoir nonfiction? Or wait, what's the difference? Or wait, is fiction the thing where it's like not real? So let's just clarify this. And this is a great lesson, by the way, for anyone who's writing a book about a topic that is your area of expertise, is, especially when considering your reader, to really recognize what they know and don't oversimplify or underestimate or overestimate rather what's super clear to you because it's what you talk about and read about and teach about and study all day, every day, but may not be completely clear to your reader. And also the way that you think about a particular concept. Maybe it's a concept that we talk about a lot in general, but the way that you think about it and the way that you describe it is a little bit different. And that's actually what makes you stand out in the eyes of your readers and your ideal clients. So it's important and it's extremely helpful to keep in mind. All right, so let's dive into genre. There are 3 main genres when it comes to book writing: fiction, nonfiction, memoir. Now, you could break any of those out into umpteen categories, and if you don't believe me, just go on to Amazon and look through the fiction and the nonfiction, the categories, and see what all the different iterations, all the different varieties of each of those there is. It's rather incredible, honestly. Fiction is made up. It's false. It's the latest Jennifer Weiner novel that you can't go to the beach without. It's the latest thriller that you can't go to bed without finishing. This is all fiction. It is a made-up story, typically based on made-up characters. That's fiction. Nonfiction and memoir are cousins of one another, in my opinion. So yes, technically memoir is nonfiction because nonfiction is anything that it has truth behind it. It's a step-by-step plan. It's a how-to. It's your experience with something. There is truth behind it. It is not made. The details of it are not made up. Here's the biggest difference in the way that I explain memoir versus nonfiction to my clients. First, let's talk about nonfiction. And when I work with people, we write, or they're writing, what I call transformative nonfiction. And I find that this is a great way to think about this type of nonfiction because the intention is to help the reader transform in some way. That's why I call it transformative nonfiction. When you're writing transformative nonfiction, you are writing about your steps or your process. It's a guidebook. It's a roadmap. It's a blueprint in most cases, if not all cases, for the reader. It's important to look at the intention of both the author and the reader when it comes to each of these genres. In transformative nonfiction, the intention of the reader is to actually get specific direction as to how to move toward a particular goal. They're not just buying a book to go on a journey or to be entertained. They want to understand what is at least 1 and possibly 4 concepts that I can implement tactically in my life today and in the coming days, weeks, and months and years in order to move toward a specific goal that this particular author can help me reach. That is the intention of the reader when they pick up a transformative nonfiction book. The intention of the author with transformative nonfiction is to give actionable steps that the reader can take toward a specific goal. So the writer, the author, isn't writing just to entertain, just to tell their story, just to share their experience, or just to be heard. They are actually saying, if you want to go from unhealthy to healthy, I'm being very high level here, but unhealthy to healthy, unhappy to happy, uninspired to inspired, unmotivated to motivated, here are the specific steps that I suggest that you take, or that I took, and then it's inferred that the author is suggesting, hey, this worked for me. These are the steps I took. And so therefore, it can safely be assumed that if you take one or all of them, you can also begin to move toward this same goalpost. Memoir, on the other hand, and when I talk about memoir, I talk about what I call inspirational memoir, because as opposed to creating transformation, although it does do that, but it typically does that sort of peripherally and not directly, inspirational memoir is intended to inspire. So this is where memoir, one of the things about memoir that really trips up aspiring authors is they feel as though they have to put everything in their life from day one to today into the book. That is wildly inaccurate. So let me just save you some angst there. Memoir is a snapshot where you as the author are taking the reader through your journey to a particular insight that you've gleaned, a lesson that you've learned, a question that you finally discovered the answer to, a lifelong question or a significant question, or a significant period in your life. But it's got a very clear boundary around that period of time. So it's an experience that you went through. You navigated your way through a particular experience. And you want to share that story. You want to share how you came to an understanding of the lesson that you learned. You want to share how you got to this incredible insight that changed everything for you. But that is the stake in the sand, as it were, when it comes to what the book is about. It's not autobiography. It's not, hey, I was born on December 13th, 1972, and then the next day there was a snowstorm. No. Because you've got to be incredibly clear, not only with yourself so that you don't get off course, but with the reader as to what is the book about? What is it your journey through? The main difference in the author's intention when they're writing inspirational memoir is that the author is not attached to the way that the reader is inspired, moved, or otherwise has a transformation when they read the book. The author is simply telling their story and saying, look, this is what I went through. This is what I felt. This is what I experienced. This is what I learned. This is what I gleaned. This is what I discovered. And if any of those things lands with the reader and the reader goes, oh gosh, what a great point. What a great thought. What a great insight. I've never thought of it that way. Now my perspective has changed a little bit. Then that's the benefit to the reader. It's an unexpected benefit in many cases, but the author isn't attached to, okay, and this is exactly how I did it. This is my process. These are my steps. It's more a telling of their journey. Many times this type of book is written for societal awareness, to let the reader know more about what really goes on when you're going through a particular type of experience, a particular type of journey. So the reader may pick up your book if they are going through a similar journey, or B, they have a loved one or a family member or a very good friend who's going through a similar journey, and they are like, I don't know anything about what it feels like to be going through this thing, but I want to understand it better. And I've been really blessed to work on at least now I'm thinking of three. I was going to say two, but three books of this nature. One was Eddie Aguilar's Lasting Impact, which dealt with the lasting impact of suicide. I also worked with Dr. Lincoln Krochmal on his book, Working My Way Back to Me, which details his experience. He's a physician who had a stroke about a decade ago and wanted to provide insight for not only other stroke survivors, but caregivers and family members who were navigating this new normal. And then Deborah Edwards, who wrote High, she wrote that as inspirational memoir, which documents her son's journey with heroin addiction. And in each case, there are, I would read all three books, to be honest, and I thankfully not experiencing or know of anyone experiencing any of those circumstances, but the lessons that I gleaned from each of those individuals while helping them write the books were significant, and the lessons that others have gleaned through, reading the books and learning some steps and some tactics and some strategies and some new perspectives and ways to think about things have been incredibly healing, number one, and also incredibly helpful when it came to how to tactically manage and handle, particular things that happened, occurrences in people's lives that were extremely unexpected. In general, human beings are just curious. And when someone has navigated something that is absolutely unimaginable, and they've come out the other side stronger and more resilient and more determined, we want to know, how'd you get there? Like, how did you do that? Why? Because in all honesty, we're selfish creatures. And so we want to know, it's kind of the, if you can do it, I can do it too thing, but also how. So maybe you didn't you didn't hike the Pacific Crest Trail and you have no desire to. And yes, my hand is in the air. But if someone with zero hiking experience can go out and do that on her own, I'm curious about that. I want to learn about the thoughts that went through her head and the experiences that she went through and all. So that is what draws me to the book. But I'm not picking it up thinking, well, now I'm going to learn how to hike the Pacific Crest Trail through reading this book. I'm not picking it up thinking, well, I'm going to get Cheryl Strayed's 10-step process to overcoming grief in however many days. That's not what I'm picking it up in order to do. And so that part actually, when as an aspiring author, you can get clear on what your intention is. And that's the first part. And I'm going to talk about that more in another episode because, we do as a book coach, I am very direct with my clients that it is critical that they know what the reader is looking for and how the reader is going to benefit from their book. More important than that is that you, as the aspiring author, first get clear about what kind of book you want to write and how you want to deliver your message to the world. And the reason for that, because, one thing people ask me with frequency is, which should I write? And anytime the word should comes out, I'm like, all right, let's have a conversation. Because people think, well, does memoir sell better? Does nonfiction sell better? Is this are people more receptive to this? Will this get more attention, etc.? And you're asking the wrong question, because the book that will get more attention, the book that will sell better, the book that will resonate more, which is the whole point, is the book that's in line with how you want to deliver the information. If you're out of alignment with the way that you feel best about delivering the information, the reader will feel that, whether you've done it the quote, air quotes here, right way or the wrong way. Well, if you've done it the wrong way, they will feel that. So you've got to not think about it in terms of what's right for the reader, but you first have to think about it in terms of what's right for you. What feels good to you? What feels better to you about delivering the information? And a final point I want to make on this, because it's a question I get often, is, well, what if I'm a crossover? People are always looking to be the exception, myself included. So it's like, well, wait a minute. I don't think I'm 100% transformative nonfiction, and I'm not 100% inspirational memoir. So clearly I'm not meant to do this. No, that's not it at all. There's often crossover. So like I said, in inspirational memoir, lots of times there's, you can have little blips in your memoir that are set, if you find yourself in this position, for the record, I recommend X, Y, and Z. Or if you find yourself in this situation, here's something that worked really well for me. That's it. It is a directive, but it's not it's not part of a 10-step plan. Within transformative nonfiction rather, I am a wildly large fan of storytelling. I believe story is how we connect with other human beings, period. And so it is, yes, there are people in the world who enjoy reading books with no story. They just want to consume the facts and be done with the facts and get the points and move on. I am not one of those people. So that's not something that I coach on. I believe that people resonate with the story. Points and directives are so much more, they land with so much more of a greater impact when they are backed up illustratively by story that in many cases the reader can in some way, shape, or form relate to. So they may not relate to the exact thing you went through, the exact story that taught you a particular lesson or gave you a particular step to add to your process. But what they can often relate to is the feeling that you had while you were experiencing that thing. Whether the feeling was despair or desperation or exhaustion or elation, that's what they can relate to. And because they can relate, all of a sudden it's just a natural byproduct that it sinks in much more deeply than, okay, this is all I have to do. I just have to do steps 1 through step 10. And that's exactly the same reason. Don't let me get off on a soapbox here. I promise I'm not going to. But why, 7 steps to do X is often misunderstood and misconstrued as, okay, just do these 7 things over 7 minutes, 7 hours, 7 days, 7 weeks, 7 months, and you're going to be at Y. And it's not, I talk about this in Enough, my 5th book. That is, those steps are valid. They are valid. And most experts, coaches, mentors have them to suggest to their clients. But step 3 might take 9 months. Step 4 might take 2 weeks, but then step 5 might take a year and a half. So it's when you can create rapport with your reader, where when they get stuck, if you choose to have a course or a program on the back end of your book or in conjunction with your book or whatever it is, that, if anyone's wondering, is how you attract amazing clients to work with you, because they get to step 3 and they're 4 months into it and they're thinking, I need some help. It's not resonating. It's not landing. It's not happening fast enough is common, thought. And so because they've identified and they've built a rapport with you and they've felt like, oh my gosh, this author gets me. This person gets me. It's like they're in my living room talking to me. So I want to work with her or him to help me figure this out. And that's where that happens. And that's why the storytelling component is such an impactful part of an impactful book that grows your business. So I hope that was helpful in clarifying specifically nonfiction, transformative nonfiction versus inspirational memoir, or, just nonfiction versus memoir, and making that more clear so that you can start really thinking through what feels really good to you. And I'd love to hear from you what your thoughts are on this and what does feel. Did this help you make any kind of a decision or lean in a particular direction? Did it help you think in a different way about how you are going to present your material and how your reader is looking to receive your material? Let me know. You can email me at any time, elizabeth@elizabethlyons.com. I'm, of course, on Instagram almost constantly. My handle there is Elizabeth Lyons Author. And you can also reference my website for more book writing and publishing tips, strategies, and support. That is ElizabethLyons.com. I will see you all again in episode 5.